Hello, welcome to Fiber Trek. Oh, Delali, where have I been all summer? Well, I can't believe I start work tomorrow, so I figured best catch up, get a clean slate all set for fall, and fill you in on all the adventuring that has happened. Honestly, like, the heat gets me down. I've just been, if I wasn't playing with Ruby Dog, my border collie, I was on the couch, like, knitting and binge watching Project Runway. I did do a lot of traveling this summer, and I hosted a number of retreats, and I took advantage of the fact there was a 3-week period there where I didn't have to go anywhere. I had to drive. I did have to go to the grocery store. So I'm going to fill you in on all of that. I also have some knitting. I finished 2 sweaters since I last talked to you. And I had a bit of a kerfuffle with a third that I'm working on, which of course is outside, so I'm going to have to pause and go get it. Anyway, welcome. You're most welcome here. How have you been? Have you, in the Northern Hemisphere, been facing the same heat? I think we all have. I've heard a lot of heat chatter and drought chatter, which has been disconcerting to say the least, especially when you think about the basis for our product, which is grass production, right? So on this edition, I will probably be a bit scattered, but that might make it kind of fun. And we're flexible thinkers, right? I got to get my pragmatic language cap on here. So flexible thinkers. And let's see, I've got some finished things to tell you about. I've got some adventuring to tell you about, acquisitions and discoveries. I might throw in a little bit of Clementine Made Me Do It because I have some stitching I thought I would show you that I've been working on. And I'm going to wrap it up from there because I have to get on the road and drive south so I can be at school tomorrow morning. So, but let's relive this awesome summer. If you follow along on my Instagram feed, you'll have seen some of the action and adventure of Fiber Trek over the past couple months. I think last time I talked to you, I had recapped Edinburgh Yarn Festival. That experience was particularly moving to me, and so I think part of my focus and where my attention has been was really intensified by my experience there, and then going to Scotland yet again in June. I have video footage of all of this, and I'm going to publish those as separate little stories on the channel, and you can watch them at your leisure, and if that's something of interest to you. So I think where I left off was talking about the new release of Janie Estelle at Starcroft and her Muckle Marl. And I happened to knit the Drema out of that by Jennifer Steingass, who's Knit Love Wool on Instagram and Ravelry. And I posted finished object pictures to my Instagram account. So here it is. I think I finished this sometime in May. I slept in it. Like, I loved this yarn. I loved this sweater. This was published as part of the Tolt Woolen Yarn Icelandic Sweater Month. The base is Muckle Marl in the light gray marl, and then the contrasting color work was done in Nash Island Light in the Raven colorway. And I have a sample. I did a swatch with that yarn, and here it is. It's going to be a little bit tough to see, but you're getting a bit of the variegation there with the marl, or the marling. I knit this on size 9 to a size 6, 9, 8, 7, 6, yeah, and it worked beautifully on all those depending on what you were looking for. I think ultimately I knit the Drema on a US 6. It's got a lovely hand, it's quite light and lofty, and it's got a really beautiful shine to it. And it did wonderfully with the color work piece. So it's a 2-ply The gray is from the gray is from Flat Island, and which is a neighboring island to Nash, and the white fleeces are all from Nash and Big Nash and Little Nash. So I really enjoyed that knit, and it went quite fast. And like I said, I think I made a few amendments to the original pattern. I can't remember if the original has a crew neck, but I really love an I-cord bind off or a rolled neckline. Jennifer uses those in a couple of her sweaters, and I think it's a much more flattering neckline on me, and I don't like a lot of the clawing of the crew neck. So I think I made that. I did the bind off the bottom edge in garter versus a ribbing, and I did the sleeves in a ribbing, and I also did not decrease as much for the sleeve length. I find sometimes that the wrist measurement or the end of my arm, like right here, I just like a little bit more ease there versus something that's quite close, so I can get like a flannel shirt underneath and be comfortable, or pull my sleeve down. So I made a few just size adjustments to my sleeve. It is I wouldn't call it a smart sweater, like it doesn't look sharp, you know, it's not like put it on with a skirt and go to the office. But it does have some beautiful shape to it, and it's a great rugged outerwear piece. So I'm quite happy with that. It's actually at Clementine right now as part of a sample. So people can see and feel, you know, what the end result might be if they use that marl. So that's why I don't have it to show you. I haven't needed it, obviously, this summer. The other thing I finished, and I did this out of Nash Island Tide, which is actually one of my favorite go-to yarns. It's toothy, it's got a really nice hand, it's spongy, and it maintains its structure. So I like that element of this particular yarn. This is also Nash Island Fleeces. It's spun at Green Mountain Spinnery in Vermont, and I did Kate Davies' Puffin out of it. I've also done her Cockatoo Bray out of it, and I find that it's a really nice substitute for me for Jamison's, Shetland and Jamison and Smith. They're jumper weight. So here's Puffin in all the beautiful glory that is I don't know, US 3s in a really dark color. This is Raven. The main color is Raven, and I started this before I went to Scotland, and holy smokes, knitting this on the airplane was like a no-go. I couldn't see it, and so I did some knitting while I was over there, but a majority of the knitting was done when I returned. So I finished this while I was doing the Wool Scouts retreat at Bradford Camps on Munsungan, and so I blocked it in the Munsungan lake water and threw it on and blocked it right to my body. So it dried pretty quickly. You know, I was pushing quite a bit of heat out, and it was pretty windy. So yeah, I just dunked it in the water, let it set for a while, and then took it out, squeezed it in a towel, double hard, stepped on it, and then just put it on and let it dry on me. So the arms are a little bit, you can kind of see where my elbow was, are a little bit short, which I like. And I think part of that might have been the take up of my shoulder on the yoke section, pulled that sleeve up a bit because I did knit it to length. The other thing is what did I change? I changed the neckline of this. I did an I-cord bind off on the neck. And I pretty much mirrored the colors, the value or the hues that Kate had put in, except for one, which is that green here. And I knit this at a different gauge. So I got 5.5 stitches to the inch. I got row gauge, which was important to me because of the yoke depth that I wanted to achieve. But I did not get stitch gauge. So I just recalculated my numbers. I actually cast on the small, which I never get to do that. I cast on the small, and it fits perfectly. Well, actually what I did is I cast on for the medium at the hip because I knew I needed a 42-inch hip. So I just calculated the numbers and picked closest to my gauge. I decreased up to the 39, and then I did 39 from the waist, increasing up to the yoke. And it all worked out. Hallelujah! The wool goddess was with me on this one. So anyway, some really nice shaping in the waist, and this is, I think I have a picture of me in it on Instagram. So if you're on Instagram and you're curious. Anyway, I'm really pleased with the way this turned out, and I am going to take a little break from the US 3s before I go back, but I have aspirations to cast on Kate Davies' Tunic from her West Highland Way, and Jennifer Geyer of Wild Lily and her Pace and Presence yarn. So we'll see where I end up there, and when I talk about works in progress, I'll tell you a little bit about something new and exciting that's happening that I'm working on now, which is why I'm not working on Tunic. So, finished. So I guess that's a perfect segue into what I am working on. So hold on, I have to go out to my porch to get it. Okay. So, exciting news. It's been really a big year for me, having posted the Shackleton yarn and done that project, and I've really just wanted to create more opportunity to work with producers and place. And so because of that, I was able to kind of apprentice with Janny Estelle of Starcroft, and I've been doing some work with them, and part of that has just been branching out a new signature yarn label, and this label is Woolwife Yarns. It is an opportunity for Starcroft to tell interesting stories that are not necessarily Nash Island. That in and of itself is an amazing legacy, and you know, and that yarn has a place, and it is in production, and it's a regular kind of thing. But the Woolwife is really an opportunity, like to do a Shackleton, or I'm excited to announce that I'm working on a yarn from the farm in Orkney. That will be a Woolwife yarn. So it's just another way of, you know, telling stories, and we wanted to be able to single out particular producers and have it under the Starcroft kind of label without being Nash Island. That being said, in all of its convolutedness, the first yarn for Woolwives is coming out. It is a 2-ply Romney. But what makes this really exciting is the connection to both place and to women and to friendship. This Romney is from Michelle of Bybrook Farm. This is the gray 2-ply. It also comes in a cream or white. And Michelle has been shepherdessing for quite a long time and nurturing her flock of Romneys, which are beautiful with beautiful colors. And her and Jenny have been friends for a very, very long time. And they're both spinners, and they've shared a lifelong love of wool and producing and mucking in and mane. So we really wanted to kind of emphasize Michelle's story and the work that goes into producing this type of yarn here in northern Maine. So this particular yarn, and I think I've got some great footage of us skirting, which I'll include, was sheared by 2 women, hand spinners, and they also the shearers on the island, and it was skirted and sorted by myself, Janny, and Michelle. And that's pretty exciting to have this kind of chain of women mucking in, but also just the long-term friendship that those particular 4 women have had here in the state. So Woolwife yarns, this is the by Brook base here, 2-ply Romney. We have some other pieces up our sleeves with some other fleeces. This is going to start to be available. We're going to be vending at the Squam Art Fair, which I'm really excited about. So that'll be Starcroft. It'll have Nash Island represented, the Muckle Mar represented, Tide, as well as our first Woolwife. Just trying to think if there's anything else particularly spectacular I should tell you about this. But I will plug in some great footage here of us getting the work done and getting it ready to be spun. So this was spun in Northern Rustic, which is basically, I don't know, probably 45 minutes from Michelle's house at the Rustic Fiber Mill. And yeah, so it's kind of all really quite close in its production. There it is, gray 2-ply, long, strong wool. That makes me really happy. I hope it makes you happy too. So what am I knitting with it? Well, I was really excited about this pattern I found from Nora Gahn. And she actually attended the Wool Scout retreat, and it was lovely to have her there. So I was, you know, as I saw her sign up, I was inspired to, you know, kind of jump on that. And I thought, oh, this will be great, you know, kind of designer meets pattern. And so, let me see if I can find it here for you. I knew that I was working with a 2-ply Romney, which is a long wool, and I was thinking about the attributes of it, but I loved the sweater so much. I thought, oh, I'll just give it a try. So this sweater has cables, and I thought maybe the yarn would be light enough that you would still get kind of a subtle muted effect of the cable. It wouldn't be so hard or so poppy. This is the original that she designed. And you can see those cables right at the top. So I thought, well, I'll give it a shot. I'll see what happens. Here it is. This is knit on a US 5. I'm getting 5 stitches to the inch, so I'm actually getting gauge. But this has been blocked. So last night I looked at it, I put it on, and it fit, but it was definitely, the cables were definitely getting lost, and it just looked like something kind of happened up here, but it wasn't a really clear kind of image. So I did not achieve the subtle effect that I thought. Part of it is obviously that I'm using a 2-ply long wool, so that doesn't really have a roundness or a spring to it that's going to sharpen up those cables. I also think it's a bit dark, the wool, and it has a lot of luster, so that the eye gets a lot of play on the surface area. I could be making that up totally, but I find it hard to see in actual natural. Actually, that looks pretty good there on the camera. Oh well. So I've decided to frog it as soon as it dries. I'm still probably going to plan to knit that sweater, but I feel like my hope that the yarn would perform in a certain way didn't work out. So what am I going to knit with it? I'm going to knit dun, 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 dun. Dun, dun. Dun, 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 dun. Rats, I didn't bring my book over. That's okay. I probably can find it on Ravelry for you. I'm going to knit the Brookdale Vest. And that's by Elizabeth Smith. She's the little brown stitch, I think, on Ravelry. This has been pretty popular in the knitting circles that I've been running in here in Maine. Elizabeth Smith. This is from the Maine Knits book by Beatrice Perrin Dolan. I don't know where that came from, but Beatrice Perrin Dolan. And this is the vest that I'm going to knit. Ah, curses. Are you getting any of that? There's a bit of texture there with a shawl collar. And it's knit in basically one piece. So I think it should be fairly quick to execute. And I think that it's a nice match for what I've got here. So I will continue to, I think I'm just going to work with the gauge I have and then recalculate the numbers and rip this out. It smells so good. So, but that's not the last we've seen of Forster by Nora Gone at all. The other exciting thing, because I'm looking down at it, is I've been kind of prototyping this wax canvas Matterroot bag that she's waxed her linen with beeswax, and it has a wool lining. I kind of love this. So I took it to Scotland. I've taken it to Wool Scouts. I mean, it's been by land, by sea, lake, airplanes. I took it on the Allagash, which worked out really well because I was constantly putting it on the ground. It was sitting in the boat. It was getting wet. And I don't know if you know this, but the dry bags that you use for kayaking, canoeing, and other water sports, they are built like this, and they have a water seal that you fold down tightly, and then you flip it, and that's what creates your watertight seal. So it kind of fits in with the whole theme. Anyway, I've been loving this prototype, so we'll see where she goes with it, but be on the lookout for her waxed canvas bags. Matterroot is by far my favorite, absolute hands down favorite bag maker. I use her bags for lunch bags and picking stuff up at the grocery store like vegetables, you know, in lieu of plastic. I have a lot of her bags. And part of it is I just love the art component of it, and I've been thinking about finding a way to hang them up so I can see them because I don't always have them in rotation. Like I said, I've been using this bag quite a bit. So I've been working on a little scheme when I finish my craft room, let's hope, that I could hang all my bags up so I can see all those great images that she's designed and screened. So, Matterroot. So that's going to be the Brookdale Vest. Let's see. I'm also still plugging away on a very dear project, but I haven't picked it up in a while. And that is my Oa by Kate Davies. I'm doing a lot of Kate Davies. Here it is. I haven't made much progress. I probably have another 5 or maybe 6 inches till I get to the underarm. And I was slightly concerned about, I'm just going to turn this inside out so you can see my color work. I'm holding this with 2 hands. I'm quite comfortable doing that, except when I get floats over 9 stitches. I don't capture my floats at all. I'm quite comfortable to just keep on trucking. But I was starting to get a little bit like, oh, are they too tight? Are they this? Are they that? But I'm getting back into the point where I'm pretty comfortable with the fabric I've achieved. So here it is on the reverse. And those long floats, like over, I think 9 stitches is the longest I have to do. Maybe it's 11. They end up kind of getting captured in any way. So Mary Jane taught a class at the Wool Scouts retreat. She had some lovely helpful tips for holding yarn and pattern color and background color and holding those, etc. So that was also very helpful and kind of reinvigorated my interest in getting back to the OA. I'm knitting this with a 3-ply Ulsantrum from Sweden. It still has some lanolin left in it, which is really nice. Has a really lovely smell, and I love the hand of this 3-ply. So I think I'm doing that on a US 5. It is in my Knit It, Hook It Parisville Tweed and Wax Canvas bag by Faye. She also is a crochet designer and has a podcast, which Crochet Circle podcast maybe? The name eludes me right now. So anyway, this is another great bag for traveling and staving off dirt, wear, and wet. Let's see. The other thing I've been working on is some stitching. And, oh look, I found the pictures of the Brookdale Vest. How convenient. It's hiding. This is the book, May Knits. I don't believe it's available anymore. You may find it in a shop here or there, but I don't believe she's publishing hard copies anymore, but I think the patterns are available on Ravelry. So this great book, The Geometry of Hand Sewing by Alabama Chanin, I finally put to use, and I had been dreaming about this for a while since I got this book, which I think I got for Christmas. This book has templates that you can use to mark on your fabric so you can make the stitches. And I have really been wanting to use the chained feather stitch for a long time in my stitching. And I have a really hard time figuring out the flow of that stitch, and I had no kinesthetic memory for it, and I was having a really hard time with my spacing. So mine, and I have all of her classes from Craftsy, and I love them. I don't necessarily need them. I have her books, but I really enjoy them, and I enjoy watching her and listening to her. I often will put those on when I'm falling asleep. Alabama Chanin is one of my maker heroes, hands down. Like Kate Davies, Alabama Chanin, they've had a huge impact on the way that I see my my materials, the way that I interpret the garment into my landscape and my life. And they're very thoughtful, and they're inclusive, and there's lots of invitation there to think. And I appreciate that about people in the field, you know, kind of asking me to reflect and become better at my own speed, not telling me how to do it, but giving me an opportunity to make those discoveries myself through their own work and their own questions. So anyway, so I would recommend the Craftsy classes. So then I had this book, and I've been dreaming about it. How can I find a place to use that? And I've been thinking a lot about stitching on some of my clothes that I've made. Like this is the Anne Carolyn smock. And then Christina of Matterud is now starting to sell hand-dyed linen yardage that she uses for her bags. And I told her I'd be happy to sew up a shop sample. So I did an Anne Carolyn smock. I love this garment so much. I love the fabric. I'm a little bit of a linen hussy anyway, though. I just love linen. I love working with it. I love the way it drapes. I love its history. So flax all around. So I thought that this would be a perfect opportunity to do some hand stitching and see how it worked out, and see how it responded in the washing machine, etc. So I have done the sleeves. So, okay. I took the template and I marked my fabric right along all the hems. And then I was able to use that to guide my needle and understand the structure of the stitch. And it made such a difference. And I was able to start to create a kinesthetic memory of spacing and flow. And I don't necessarily think I'm going to need to use that template all the time. But it was certainly a great stepping stone to becoming a little bit more intuitive with the stitch. So here it is. I used DMC embroidery floss, and I used 6 strands, so 3 strands held double, which I think I just kind of extrapolated from Alabama Chanin's recommendation. You probably could do whatever thickness you wanted. The templates have a variety of different sizes, so this could be bigger or smaller than what you see here. So I've done it around the hems of the sleeves. It didn't really hold the leaf shape as well as I had hoped. I don't know if that's a tension issue for me. I'm not using a hoop when I'm doing this stitching, so I'm just kind of holding the tension myself, but I think the overall effect from afar works great. I have not tried using button craft thread, which is a recommendation, Alabama Chanin, which is the company. Natalie Chanin is the founder of Alabama Chanin, that they recommend for a lot of their stitching, but I felt like because this was decorative and not construction, a part of the construction, it would be okay. So, and then as you can see, I'm also stitching that around the bottom hem. This has been washed because I was actually wearing it. I didn't even care that I hadn't finished. I was like, it doesn't matter. I love it. And then the other detail, and I'm going to add another one, is whoa. Here. I love Yumiko Higuchi and her stitch books. And she's got these little birds. She's got a lot. This is a felt applique and stitching. So I appliqued the bird onto the sleeve, and then I just did some detail work. And I took that template and all the ideas right from her book, and she tells you how many strands to use, what type of stitch to do, and I just think it's so whimsical to have that on the sleeve and kind of folky without being like, I don't know, like costumey. So I've been watching a lot of Project Runway, can you tell? So I'm going to do one on the other sleeve. I'd also thought about doing them on the smocked part or doing a whole like ring of them on the back, but then I don't get to see them, which is kind of a bummer. And I wear my hair down, so you may not see it because my hair's down. So my hair is down, not my hairs are down. My hair is down. So but we'll see. I have a lot of ideas. I have another Anne Carolyn that's in a beautiful chocolate brown, and it's a cotton linen blend. And I think I'm going to do some embroidery on that. And frankly, I'm just going to make all the Anne Carolyn smocks in the world in linen and hand embroider on them. So this is definitely, I mean, it is totally my go-to garment. I have other ideas in the works, and if I can pull myself together and get some stitching done this fall, I will put out a Clementine Made Me Do It. I have a ton of projects I want to do. I am working on another Alabama Chanin garment, another Endless Summer Tunic, which I can show you if you'd like to see it real quickly. But I don't know, have I talked about it before? I don't remember. So this is just one of the panels. This is the back panel of the Endless Summer Tunic by A Verb for Keeping Warm, and I'm doing it, it's originally done in a woven, but I'm doing it in a knit. So I'm doing a big no-no too, which is I'm actually hand stitching the reverse applique and embroidery floss. She does not recommend doing a running stitch. She recommends doing a back stitch, and I've back stitched, you can see these parts, but I've only done the running stitch on the petals. So I don't know, I think it'll be okay. I'll wash it gently. We'll see what happens. And I'm currently working on the sister panel to this. So here it is. Part of the reason I chose to use the embroidery floss is I really liked the effect that it had on the garment. So it was kind of creative over construction. Let's hope that that works out for me. Let's see what else. Well, let's talk a little bit about Scotland. I traveled to Edinburgh and I got to stay with my friend Louise Scully of Knit British. Had a great time in the city. I haven't been back and spent that much time in the city in a long time, like 20 years. And I got to drink whiskey and beer and out to dinner and visit yarn shops. And one of the yarn shops I visited was, why does the name escape me now? Ginger Twist, which was a quaint little shop. I loved being in there and I loved meeting Jess. I picked up a few pieces. Believe it or not, it wasn't Scottish wool. But I had been wanting to work with this Romanian yarn, and it's a Moki. This is Elena. It's 100% half-bred Tiagi wool. I'm going to put that up there in case you know how to pronounce it, but I just wanted to say it with confidence. Here we are. So it says on the label, our mission is to contribute to the preservation of the Romanian heritage by producing yarns just like our grandmothers would make them. Moki yarns are produced in Romania with love and care for the environment, sheep, and wool. And this is a singles, and this is colorway gray, and the production year was 2016. So there's a lot of, hello again, I don't know what happened. So I was talking about the label. There's a lot of helpful information on the label. So spun by traditional Romanian fiber mills, minimally processed. Those are all helpful pieces to understand what you're getting and how it's going to perform for you. So I got it in this color, a natural white. I think I actually might have a darker gray, but I had thought about doing a fade. You know, I did the color affection, I did the color defection, and I did it in a bunch of beautiful Gotland natural colors. I thought, oh, I could do a fade in all these beautiful browns. So I may have one darker than this. I'm not sure. So I picked up that. I don't know how much. I think I got two of each color. The other great find was S-Twist wool. This is an Irish wool. I had first heard about it from Melissa of Knitting the Stash, and was intrigued by its story. And then Louise of Knit British does an interview with, is his name Dermot? Doesn't say on this particular page. Oh, I'm sorry that his name eludes me. Anyway, he was really interested in working with the wool industry in Ireland. And this is the product that he's come up with. I think there's a lot of interesting new happenings going to be on the lookout for that Louise kind of alludes to. Anyway, S-Twist. This is hand spun, natural dyed, and the label is also, again, very helpful. Hand spun mixed mountain fleece. The origin is Tipperary, Ireland. It's 210 meters per 100 grams. And yeah, so one of the interesting parts of this process is that the wool, when it's gone to be cleaned, is fermented. Wool has a natural kind of soap to it, so I think it's called, I don't know what it's called, so I'm not going to go there. But anyway, if you put wool in with a little bit of water, it will naturally clean itself. And it's not the most, that's what I'm looking for. It's, came and went. It smells, that's what I'm trying to say, but since I can't do it in a more articulate way, we'll go there. But it is excellent for water conservation, and I first heard about it from Judith Mackenzie McEwen, who I think had learned about it when she was in New Zealand and Australia. You know, places where water is a hot topic, water rights, conservation, etc. Fermentation can be a way to conserve water and still create or, you know, clean your fleeces. I haven't tried it yet, but it's on one of my, it's on a list, a bucket list I'd like to do. So anyway, let me just tell you a little bit about what he says. So my wool is collected from local farmers in the Kilkenny and Tipperary region. The wool is washed using a natural fermentation method. This ensures that no harmful chemicals are used. All the washing is done by hand and the wool is dried in the open air. Mindful of our carbon footprint, all of our natural dyes are gathered locally. So he talks a lot about the local dyes and color fast, low energy dyeing methods, solar and fermentation dyeing. So all of those things kind of come up. So if those are important issues for you when you're looking at yarn or people, you know, working, this is something for you to investigate further. But yeah, I was really happy to get my hands on a sample of this, and I'm thinking I might combine it with something else and do a hat, but I was more than happy to add this to my stash and support the story of Estwist wool happening in Ireland. So, yeah. Let's see. Edinburgh, Edinburgh, Edinburgh. I'm probably forgetting some stuff, but I hiked Arthur's Seat, I had lots of tea and scones, I had lots of lovely whiskey, and then I got on an airplane and I flew to Orkney, where I had the best, most amazing reunion with Edie, which is the island in the Northern Isles, and my family there ever. I'm feeling the tears coming on as I speak. It was a really pretty spectacular time. I hadn't been back in almost 10 years, I think maybe 8, and yeah, I am going back next summer. That's a really important place to me, and I'm so excited to bring a project and in a collaborative way with Fur's Nest, which is the name of the farm. So one of the things that I did when I was there is we sheared, and I helped sort and skirt fleeces and roll fleeces on the island of Ferry, which is a small island off the kind of the northern tip of, well, northwest tip of Edie, where Mark has a bunch of his yows and that live out there year-round. So I wanted to see the fleeces, get my hands on the fleeces, and then from there I skirted and picked and graded the ones that I wanted to put into my yarn. And I brought home some samples. I washed some samples when I was there, and then I spun them. So this particular breed is the Highlander Breed. I think it comes out of New Zealand, and it's predominantly bred for meat, which is the main market for probably a lot of sheep farmers. And but this breed originates in the genetics of Romney, Finn, and Texel, which was interesting to me. I have a strong place in my heart for Romney and long wool. So anyway, I had hoped to get some colored fleeces, but there was some discrepancy between some of the fleeces I fell in love with and the colored fleeces. They were just very different in their hand. And so I brought home, everything I picked ended up being white. And this is it spun up. Oh, it's not going to really give you any idea, but I just flicked out the tips and I spun it worsted here. It's a dream. I mean, I kind of cried when I spun it. And then this is named for me, Sarah. She had a gorgeous colored fleece, and they had pulled 2 of her fleeces for me for hand spinners, and I'm bringing home her hog fleece, which is her first shearing. And I'll probably just hand spin that one. So I had a real education being on the island, as usual. I call it Cochrane University. It's the name of the family. Because I just learned so much about stewardship, well, both animal stewardship and land stewardship, and I'm just always, my curiosity is always just so driven there, and I'm really looking forward to bringing this yarn to all of you and giving back something to this family that's given me so much. So hello to Mark and Louise. You might be listening in the kitchen, and Marcus and Lorna and Georgina. And yeah, so it's nice to know that even if I'm not there physically, I'm kind of there in spirit because they do watch the podcast. That kitchen is just a really great place to drink tea and eat lots of biscuits, which I did. And I think my hips probably show that. Anyway, I could go on about how wonderful it is and how wonderful they are. But I'm really excited about 2019 and Fur's Nest yarn. All right, pull yourself together, woman. The other spinning that I've done was a gift from Patricia or P4 Chen. She's had some exciting times on her farm. She's brought home some endangered conservation breeds and is getting acquainted with shepherdessing and also creating value-added products like from her landscapes. So she's got these beautiful mitten and sock blockers that she mills with from the birch that she cuts on her farm, and now she has her own yarn from these animals. And she brought me a selection of roving, and I've spun it up. And I'm gonna grab my friend Lori Dubois. She has a really nice write-up of what this is, and I thought I would share it with you, so I'm nice and accurate. Here it is. So this is the Norwegian Gra Trondosau, and it's a flock in Norway, and cocoa color, natural colors. The sheep produce a light gray, medium gray, and then this chocolate brown. So I just wanted to make sure I got the name right. So I haven't plied it. This is the singles. So I got that spun up, and it's been really nice to be back at the spinning wheel. I haven't done a ton since I came back from the Machiasport retreat that I hosted in July, but I'm looking forward to sitting down at my wheel a little bit more this fall. And I'm going to do this as a 2-ply, and hopefully get to show you the finished product. So, spinning, some Orkney adventure. I will put up the footage from my Orkney time as a separate thing to music, just so you can see what that experience was like, because you don't need to sit here and watch me be all weepy and crying about my experience. Let's see. While I was, okay, one more Orkney thing. While I was in Orkney, I got the great opportunity to visit Orkney Tweed and Nancy Fergus. She's doing some really awesome, beautiful work with Orkney wool, and she started a company called, like I said, Orkney Tweed. So I got to visit her flagship shop in Kirkwall, and I went a little bit crazy in there because it's just so beautiful. So I picked up a flask for each of us, for Rob and I, for canoeing, and these different tweed elements. So she travels around and buys local wool, and it's all milled, spun, and woven in Shetland. But her goal is to have that happen in Orkney. So, of course, we're going to wish her the best and get right behind this project because that's exciting. I also brought home a lap blanket, which I love and can travel with me. So I take a little bit of Orkney wherever I go. And I brought home from her as well some project bags, which were beautifully done, and I really tried to coerce her into selling me yardage, but she wasn't ready to do that yet. So anyway, she does have a shop online, and she talks a little bit about her project, and I encourage you to go to orkneytweed.co.uk, but I really enjoyed, I talked to Nancy a long time about fleece and selecting fleece and skirting fleece, and she has her own sheep, so a real wool woman, and yeah, just being creative and creating opportunities for beautiful things in the world for us to appreciate and have our hands on. So I guess I'll go to Wool Scouts, and then I'm going to wrap it up because I have to get on the road. Have I boo-hooed? I think I've boo-hooed about that a lot. So Wool Scouts is a retreat that I run at Bradford Camps, although it's expanding. So there'll be other opportunities coming up, and so stay on the lookout for that. And I brought together Mary Jane Mucklestone, Maria Muscarella, and Janie Estelle of Starcroft, myself, and my husband Rob. And we went up and we hosted 2 sessions. We did classes on felt beads. We did eco-printing. I'll show you my eco-printing. Maria is, of course, a genius. This was my eco-printed version, which is really not that exciting. I did a blanket. Let's do this side. You can see my cedar. And then Maria was very generous, and she gave me the sample that she did, which was really stunning. So we did paper, eco-printing on paper. Everybody got to do 4 different types. That was one day. Mary Jane did a class on color, and we played wristlet roulette with Nash Island Tide, and that was a bit of a challenge to use the colors that you spun and work with main color, background color, contrast value, etc. So that was our class. My husband Rob taught knots, and we did some fire making with flint and steel and bow drills. And Igor, co-owner of the camp, taught fly casting, and he did a map and compass class. And I taught reverse applique from the Natalie from Alabama Chanin School of Making. I did a little sampler with everybody. So there was lots of opportunity to participate. We led hikes up Munsungan Mountain. People kayaked. People sat around the fire. People took walks. There were bears. There were moose. There were float planes. There were eagles. There were osprey. It was a pretty spectacular place, and I was thrilled to be able to spend 10 days in the North Woods at Bradford. I said this before to everybody who attended, but I do want to point out that the crew at Bradford Camp, Karen, Igor, Tiffany, Chad, Tom, everybody who takes care of us, they really get behind the mission of Fibertrack and making and wool. They get it, and they embrace it, and they want to be a part of it. And I am so blessed and so grateful to have found such a stunning place that will host these types of events. You feel like you're at home there. We have the whole camp to ourselves. You are taken care of, and you are part of what's happening. And I think that's a real special, unique thing that a relationship that Karen, Igor, Chad, Tiffany, Tom, all of the people involved really make a point to cultivate and ask questions, and they're curious about, you know, all these different things that we're doing. So I know they don't watch the podcast, but I wanted to highlight that because it makes an amazing retreat, and it makes, you know, it makes this work important and valued, and I appreciate that. So anyway, I'll talk a little about so my dear friend Christina of Matterroot, she did the bags for us. Fibertrack Wool Scout, Matterroot Trundle. I don't think I could be any luckier than to have that working relationship and have somebody do that for us here in Maine. She's an amazing Maine maker right down there in Old Town, so right on the fringe of the North Woods. And she also did... Dun, 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 dun. Oh no, which is one of my favorite parts. I mean, I love the bag, don't get me wrong. Oh, but everybody got a bandana in her linen that she screened, and everybody got a screened little notebook. They also got a skein of muckle marl, they got chocolate bars, they got a little knot tying book. They got little cards on identifying trees and ferns and birds and tracks. They received some lovely hand cream from Rich Pond Herbals called Maine Woods Romance, which has a real lovely essence of pine and cedar and evergreen to remind you of your time on Munsungan. They also got, very cool, I had pins made. I was so excited to jump on that bandwagon. Part of it is, as a kid, I had pins. I grabbed my Boundary Water pin I got when I finished paddling in Quatico and the Boundary Waters in Canada and Minnesota as a Girl Scout. And I found my old pin for that. It's right here. I'm super psyched. I don't know if we're going to focus. Anyway, So anyway, I jumped on that bandwagon, and I had Fibertrek pins made, and then I had the Bradford Camp logo turned into a pin. So super exciting. All in my woolen flower bag, which is my go-to. Notions bag. If I'm not using Madder Root, I've probably got my woolen flower going. So all in all, a really spectacular retreat. I just, again, feel really blessed to have relationships with some very interesting, creative people in this state. Carrie, Janie, Mary Jane, all of those people. Christina, Karen Igor, and their staff. So, yeah. Anyway, that was a little bit about the retreat. And like I said, that footage will go up as its own separate little story. You can also head on over to Ninja Chickens. She got to it before I did. She's so organized and on top of it. She did a lot of great documenting when she was there, which I didn't do. I was very lucky that Janie did a lot of the filming because I was kind of, I don't know what I was doing, but I wasn't documenting and filming. And she's got a lot of really awesome footage with voiceover. So mine is just going to be a beautiful montage set to music. Hopefully that's inspiring. So you can just get a feel for what those retreats kind of look like. And in the meantime, wherever your fiber treks may take you, may you return home safe and with lots of soulful stash. I'll see you next time. Bye.